What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Keeping It Real. It's your boy Kevin Moore.
It's your boy John Lundy. What's going on?
John, what's up? You all right?
Yes, sir, man. Chilling, chilling. How about yourself?
Oh man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed, doing well. Look, man, we got an exciting show tonight. We got two really special guests, and we gonna break it down, man. So, me and you, we're sports journalists. We cover different sports in the industry. So I wanted to ask you, what made you get into sports, the sports journalism, the sports
It,
writing industry?
it'll maybe get into it. Like growing up, man, I was always watching ESPN. Dad always had it on the TV, and like I would see like some of the black reporters, like Stuart Scott, Jamel Hill, Stephen A. Smith. And I'm looking at them like, hey, I think I can do that too. Just like on top of that, like I really like reading, really like writing, and wanted to combine those two passions with a hobby. And when got in, that's where my interest in sports writing came from. I was able to cover the Pistons. We in the that was the 2020 season. Had a little internship. Was able to go to games, be in the locker room, get the quotes from coaches and players, and put together an article like that.
That's what's up. For myself, kind of similar to you, man. I grew up playing sports. I loved watching sports, and I always told myself I want to pursue a career in sports. So, it just so happened to me that I fell in love with writing and doing, different radio shows in school and being a host for different shows. And it kind of just, that's how the chips fell. So, I absolutely love what I do. And I'm just glad to, keep doing it and making an impact, especially as black men in this industry. So with that being said, we want to get right into our guests. We had, like I said earlier, we had two very special guests. The first guest we want to bring on is Omari Sankofa, a dear friend of mine, a fellow graduate of Renaissance High School, class of 2012. Omari, man, how you doing?
It's going good, man. It's going good. Yeah, class of 2012. I'm like, man, it's been a few years now.
I know, man. It flew by. It flew by. Well, yeah, man. Omari doing big things out here. He recently was covering the Memphis Grizzlies with the Athletic, and now he's back home in Detroit covering the Pistons. So, man, we glad to have you, man.
Man, I'm happy to be on here. Thanks
Oh,
for
yeah,
having me.
absolutely. And then our second guest, a lot of people might know this name, Rob Parker. He is a big name in the sports industry. He's done everything from sports writing to hosting shows, hosting TV shows, radio shows. He was a big name here in Detroit when he worked here with Channel 7 and also Local 4. Also wrote for the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press. So, Rob Parker, ladies and gentlemen.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you. Yeah, where didn't I work in Detroit? I worked everywhere, right?
Absolutely. You definitely like I say, he made a name for himself down in Detroit. So, fellas, man, glad to have you both on. So, we want to jump right into it. Just talking about, sports writers in this industry, especially black sports writers. That's what we really want to focus on. So, can you both talk about how you got into the industry or what drew you to this business?
Go ahead and lead off. Yeah, for me, I think it was just an interest in sports. Like a lot of people growing up. I was a big basketball fan. We watched the Lions, but just especially basketball growing up. And also playing basketball here and there. I knew I liked the sport, but I don't know if I necessarily thought about writing about it until I got to high school. Took a journalism class at Renaissance, and that was probably really my first introduction to just the concept of being a sports writer. My parents had the Detroit Free Press growing up, so I read the sports section a lot, and of course the comics. And when I was younger, so I already kind of knew what it was, but probably high school is when I really first began to consider doing it and got involved on a student newspaper and everything. And then in college, just stuck with it. Joined the state news on my very first semester freshman year. I got a couple of internships and then was able to kind of relay that into working for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for a couple of years. And then, as you said earlier, Kevin, covered the Grizzlies for a little bit and now back home in Detroit covering the Pistons. So that I think that was kind of it, just kind of knowing, like having a good base for one, being able to do that in school, but also just just kind of finding that pathway once I got to college.
For me, it was real simple. I was a 9-year-old kid growing up in New York, and the only thing I ever wanted to do was play first base for the New York Mets. And when I realized I wasn't that good, I wasn't as good as Kevin Moore as a baseball player. But when I realized I wasn't going to be able to make that, I had to have my backup plan. And as a kid, two things. When I was in second grade, I had a teacher named Miss Noble who told me in second grade that when I grow up, I should be a writer. And I mean, she identified me at in second grade
Mm.
and told me that, and it stuck in the back of my head. So my backup plan was, if I can't make it to the major leagues, I want to be a sports writer. I used to watch a TV show called The Odd Couple, and Jack Klugman played the role of Oscar Madison, the sloppy sports writer. But back then, I thought this guy's the greatest job in the world. He goes to all the ball games for free. He gets free food. That's what I want to do. And at that time, there weren't a lot of black guys as sports writers back in those days. So my friends thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy to have this dream to be a sports writer. But that's the only thing I ever focused in on. And that was my dream, to be a sports writer and have my own column in New York. And obviously in Detroit, became the first black sports columnist the Detroit Free Press ever had back in 1993. That's a very special moment in my career. I was also a columnist, the first black columnist at Newsday in New York. So, I was able to achieve those things. And it should tell people that they can do it, even if nobody in your family has ever done it, or this is so out of the box from what you're used to. It is possible.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned your accomplishment, with the free press, because I wanted to ask you, what was going through your mind at that time when you realized you were the first black sports columnist there?
It was crazy because when I came for the interview, I actually didn't want the job, to be honest. I was working in Cincinnati. I was a baseball beat writer. I love baseball. I loved the team I was covering. I loved where I lived. I had a girlfriend in Cincinnati. It was like life was great. And I came up there just for like practice to be on an interview, because at that time I was only 29 years old, and like, if I don't get a column at 29, it ain't the end of the world, I thought. And I came up, and after talking to the editors and whatnot and realizing what this was, I was like, you know what? I think I want this job. And there were three people up for it, and I got it. And I was 20. I was 29, and the paper was 161 years old when they hired me. And like I said, it is my crowning achievement. And I've achieved a lot of things in my career, but being the voice of the people in Detroit at the Free Press meant a lot to me, and still does.
That being the first black columnist at the Free Press, and Omari, you also at Memphis at the Athletic. I want to ask, did you feel any type of bias like towards you, like while working, because you're black?
I think as far as getting along with the players, I started covering the Grizzlies. That was fall 2018, so I was still, I believe, 25 years old. And I think on some level, it does kind of help you relate to the players when you're not that much older than them. I was pretty much the same age as Jonas Valanciunas and Kyle Anderson. And, of course, halfway through when I was down there, they got John Morant. And, John's younger than me. He's younger than my younger brother. So, I could kind of, relate to a lot of those guys. You listen to the same music. I think on some level, they in some ways, I think they can kind of trust you a little bit more because they know that, you and them more or less kind of see things the same way. So I think that it kind of breaks down that wall a little bit, maybe. So I do think it helps for sure. I think you're in the locker room and everybody looks like you. It kind of breaks down whatever boundaries there may be elsewhere, especially when there's still not a whole lot of black people in sports journalism. So, it's not a whole lot of us, and I think some players who recognize that.
For me, I just think that it was more about, getting those opportunities when I was doing it. At the time when I became a columnist at the Free Press, there were only 10 black sports columnists in the entire country, and there were 1,600 daily newspapers. Think about that. 1,600 daily newspapers. and there were only 10 of us, and I was number 10. So that wasn't because I was that good or I'm better than everybody else that I got an opportunity. It was more about there weren't opportunities for black people, black guys and women to get these jobs at these big newspapers or newspapers around the country. So yeah, there was bias and racism, but you just have to fight through. And when you get your opportunity, you run with it, and that's what I did.
Yeah, that's big for sure. And I know, like Rob, like you said, you love baseball, and you already know that's a sport where you don't see too many of us playing it or even covering it. So I'm glad you touched on that about getting your opportunity and running with it. And then also, you recently uh, made some noise in the baseball world, with the website you just came out with MLBbro.com. It's gaining a lot of traction. So can you touch a little bit on, what was the thought process behind that whole website and why you decided to create that?
I'm very proud of it, and as you know, Kevin is one of our writers. He's doing a great job for us. But baseball is our game. I know people are all caught up in AAU coaches talking kids out of playing more than one sport and just playing football or basketball, and it's a disservice. Baseball is in our heritage and our and our cloth of black as black people. So we have a great tradition of baseball. You look at the baseball record book and all the records and what we've been able to accomplish starting in the major league since 1947. Not and the things that we've done in baseball. So I just thought that there was a void, and maybe there are black fans out there who might not go to MLB.com directly, but they could go to MLBbro.com where we cover black and brown players. And the response has been tremendous. We're very thrilled with it. It's growing every day, and more people are finding the website. And matter of fact, I just got an email or text from one of my students. I'm an adjunct professor at USC, and she said that she's been pulling so much information from our site, and her bosses are thrilled, when she comes back with this information. But she's telling me she's getting it from MLBbro.com. So we're expecting to grow this site and eventually do all kinds of other stuff with it. Have a TV show and a radio show next year. So if you haven't heard about MLBbro.com, you need to check it out on the website. Uh, we're having a great time doing it, and more black players are coming. We've had a dip, but in the minor leagues, man, people just don't know yet. They're out there and they're coming. So we'll watch and see these new stars coming into baseball.
Nice, nice. Like all the attention, and that's something I noticed too. Like even when I turn on the game, there's like a lot more like black players that are excelling as well. I just discovered Cedric Mullins of Baltimore.
He's balling in Baltimore. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, he is. Like there's a few guys in the minors too. I believe someone has a picture. He has like a 104-mile-per-hour fastball. And like,
On the green, yep.
yeah. So like they're definitely on the way. But I wanted to ask both of you, what was the first story that y'all had published?
It was probably with my student newspaper. When I was back in high school, we had an in-house paper, and then the Free Press actually worked with DPS to do newspapers in each of the high schools as well. So my first story was probably a story in one of those papers. I couldn't tell you what it was about. Or, when the Suns didn't have a lot of breaking news, every month anyway. So, I really couldn't tell you what it was about. But I think my first story probably would have been in one of those two newspapers.
I still have my first story, believe it or not. I know the paper's yellow. Is mad old. It's from 1978 or 9 or something like that. So a long time ago. But it was for the high school newspaper. The Martin Van Buren High School Beeline was the name of our paper. I covered the soccer team and wrote a story about it, my first byline ever. And I do want you to know that, man, when I was in high school, it took forever for our high school newspaper to come out, and it used to drive me crazy. So I decided to start an all sports newspaper in high school called Sportsline. And we didn't have money to publish it. The principal said that the school wouldn't pay for it. So I wrote letters to all the publishers at the New York papers, the Daily News, the New York Times, and the New York Post. And if you could believe it, the New York Post sent me a check for $50 back in 1980 to start my newspaper. And guess who I wrote the letter to? I wrote the letter to Rupert Murdoch. For you
Mm,
guys who know,
Wow.
Rupert
Yeah.
Murdoch is the owner of
On the
Fox.
Fox. Yeah.
Back then, he was the publisher of the New York Post. He didn't even Fox wasn't even an entity. It wasn't founded yet, television. So he was just a newspaper reporter. And Rupert Murdoch obviously is now my boss at Fox Sports. So isn't that incredible? 40 years later, the guy who sent me a check to start an all sports newspaper in high school is now my boss.
Wow.
man, that's crazy. That's a wild. That's why, and we know, Rob, you just recently um, received, a high achievement at Martin Van Buren High School, being inducted into the Hall of Fame for the 2021 class. So congratulations with that.
Thank you. Yes, the
That's a big accomplishment.
ceremony's coming up in September. But I got the announcement this past weekend when I was in New York, and another honor, to go into your high school Hall of Fame. And there's only about 11 or 12 people in it, so it's not doesn't happen very often. But I'm very proud. It wasn't something I was looking for, but I absolutely embrace, and it's a testament not only to me but all the people I went to high school with during that time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, earlier I touched on, how Rob has many different jobs and does a lot of things. He's also a busy man, so I know he has to get off this call really soon. But we definitely thank him for blessing us with his presence. So, real quick before you hop off, I want to touch on the importance of mentorship, especially in this industry with Black journalists. Why is it so important, and the need for Black journalists? I want both of you all to expound on that.
For me, I'll just jump in first. Like when I started out, guys looked out for me. I can remember my first road trip covering the St. John's basketball team. This is a team that Mark Jackson was on back in the day. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was going to Buffalo, and I was young. I was 22 years old. My first road trip, I really didn't know. And Bill Rhoden was covering the team for the New York Times. And Bill Rhoden, who's at Undefeated and worked for the New York Times as a columnist for a long time. And Bill saw me. We got off the plane together in Buffalo and said, "Hey, get in my car. I'll show you around. I'll show you the ropes." I didn't even have to ask him for help. And I thought to myself, whenever I get to a position where I can help people, I'm going to do the same exact thing. And I believe it's very imperative to have a mentor, and so that you don't have to bump your head. Someone can guide you and tell you what to look out for, pitfalls or whatever. And, in my career, I've probably mentored about 40 people, and I'm proud of every single one of them and the things that they've done. And for people like Stephen A. Smith is someone who I helped mentor when he first started in the business. Michael Smith, Mark Spears, Darren Haynes, who went to U of D. No, went to Wayne State. I'm
I want
sorry,
to say, yeah,
Wayne State. Darren Haynes was a Sports Center anchor who worked on my local show in Detroit. So it's important. People need help. You can't do it by yourself, and that's all I'm going to say is getting a mentor or being a mentor when you can help people is really important.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, well, Rob's a legend. I wish I had the mentorship record he does. Yeah, he's been doing it for so much longer. But even in my young career, I mean, I can think of numerous people off the top of my head who have worked to kind of help open those doors for me. First person probably being Mrs. Dorena Craighead at Renaissance, who I took her journalism class in ninth grade, and towards the end of the class, she said, "You're a good writer, and I want you to join the student newspaper." Which I ended up doing my junior year. So there's been a lot of people who have seen the potential in me. Kind of helped show me just kind of what the job was and how to do it, and I'm definitely very grateful for that. It's not something that is always easy to have, but I've just been surrounded by some really good people. And especially as I've graduated and gotten established, I think I definitely have realized and found those opportunities to try to give back where I can. Get involved with NABJ or some of the different organizations here in Detroit. Especially since I moved back. Just because I am lucky to be in this position, and if it weren't for people doing that for me, I definitely wouldn't be here. So just have to pay it back.
Absolutely, man. That's real information right there. Definitely appreciate that. But we not gonna hold Rob too much longer. Like I said, he's a busy man. He has
I just got off the radio, and of course, I got another thing I need to do. But man, I appreciate you guys having me on, and best of luck. And if there's anything I can do to help you along in your career, and you could ask Kev. I mean it. Reach out to me, get my information. Start a dialogue with me, and I'll do my best to help you along through this journey. All right, best of luck to everybody. All right, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Rob Parker. Take care.
All right. So now we got the boy Omari with us. So Omari, can you talk about your first professional job? So was it when you moved out to Pittsburgh? Was that your first one?
Yeah. So my first job was with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Okay.
Which I got right when I graduated from Michigan State. And technically, I was their Robert Morris basketball and district college football writer. So Robert Morris, their Division One, mid-major. They beat Kentucky in the first round of the NIT back in 2014. So that was probably their, the thing that really kind of put them on the map. I was back in 14 or 15. But they're like 25, 30 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. And, I think it was really good to kind of learn how to be a beat writer from that. I also covered district colleges, which was all the local Division II and Division III schools. So I just kind of bounced around and did, different, like during football season, obviously it's football, and then during basketball, it would be a basketball game here and there. But also I did a lot of general assignment stuff. My editors, they, wanted to kind of get me involved everywhere, help out everywhere. So covered Penn State football here and there. Some Steelers here and there, a little bit of Penguins. I think I did a couple Pirates games. Basically everything but Pitt. So it was definitely a really good place to be, and just kind of helped me get my feet wet. And basically everything except the NBA. Obviously since Pittsburgh doesn't have a team, but yeah, I got to do everything else though.
All right, Omari. Earlier when you were talking, just like when you were talking about having black sports writers in the room, how do you think that did you find it like easier, like because you're black, that it's easier for for you to get something like out of the players, like how that can make you like more relatable, a little bit more open? Can you expand upon that?
Yeah, I think it can. I think it can help in certain ways, just because sometimes I think there can be like sort of a culture barrier, maybe between obviously if you're a young black reporter, you're covering young black players, you can talk. If they're talking about Playboy Cardi, you know who Playboy Cardi is, right? I think it just kind of helps from that standpoint. At the same time, I think at the end of the day, if you're a good reporter, you're social and everything, I think anybody can open up to you. I don't think being black is necessarily a cheat code per se, but I do think in certain ways it helps just from the standpoint of you and a lot of the players just you are listening to the same music, you probably watch the same stuff. I think from that standpoint it definitely helps a little bit.
All right, winding down, since the beginning of last year of 2020, there was kind of like a change in journalism and sports writing with the passing of George Floyd. Like a lot of writers and athletes kind of got involved on the social justice front. From your perspective, can you kind of talk about that? How that's changed. Has that impacted you as a writer and how you work?
I think with George Floyd, and I think last year, for a lot of social justice movements in general, there became or at least from my perception, a big increase in wanting to see professional sports teams, wanting to see corporations and other people who are in positions of influence to get more involved in the social justice ring. I think the NBA definitely has always been pretty deeply involved in social justice matters, just because it's a player different league, and that's what the players tend to care about. But, obviously, being the majority black league, those issues are always going to be at the forefront. But I think to see some of the other sports leagues, begin to tweet, put certain things on social media that they probably weren't doing before, very overt, pro Black Lives Matter messaging, which I think is also carried over to, what we've seen with, like Pride Month this month, and, and other causes such as that. I think George Floyd ended up becoming, I mean, we even saw it in the bubble with the NBA last year. You have, Black Lives Matter on the courts, and you have the special jerseys, and, with the slogans on the jersey instead of their last names. So, I think that kind of felt like a tipping point for sure. I know the Pistons, when we were having the protests across the country around this time last year, the Pistons, like Dwayne Casey and Pistons players and staff, joined one of the protests. So actually, because of the pandemic, the first time I met their head coach Dwayne Casey in person was at that protest. So so I think that kind of felt like a tipping point, as far as people wanting more accountability, from different institutions that can impact change. And institutions also obliging, and being willing to do it. So it definitely felt like a tipping point as far as that.
Absolutely, yeah, that's definitely important for sure, and it's good to see that athletes and journalists are using their platform to help educate people and bring awareness to what's really going on out in the world today. But now we winding down. This is where we like to get into our heavy hitters. So, we like to end our show with some questions for our guests. So, the first question we're going to start off with, I mean, you cover the Pistons. I know everybody knows the big news. We getting a number one pick. So, what do you think? What do you think the Pistons do with the first pick? You think they trading, or you think they taking the best player out there? Everybody talking about Cade Cunningham. What do you think? What do you think Pistons gonna do?
If I had to put money on it, I would like gun in my head. Like I would probably pick Cade Cunningham. Just because he is a consistent best prospect. And Troy said last week after the lottery that Cade is on top of our list. So. If the Pistons don't trade the pick, then I think the pick is Cade Cunningham. Now, of course, there's an outside chance that either Houston at 2 or Orlando at 3 or some other team offers a really good package, and the Pistons consider it. But at the end of the day, it's just hard to see a trade that will be more meaningful for them than just drafting Cade Cunningham. Like that's a pretty. It's hard to top that. I mean, it's hard to top that.
Thank you.
So that's what my guess would be.
Yeah, take Cade, Troy. Hopefully he see this episode. Take Cade. All right, the next one, the playoffs going on right now. Who is in the NBA Finals and why?
I think Milwaukee and Phoenix. Milwaukee, I think, especially with Trae Young out, it's just a big disparity. Although I actually have the game on. It's a commercial break. I don't know what the score is right now. I know that it was up at halftime, but I still think Milwaukee wins. It may take them 6, may take them 7, but they're going to get to the finals. And then Phoenix, they're up 3-2 on Los Angeles now. And, Paul George has had a really good playoffs. And, of course, I think he scored 42 last game to, help him start off elimination. At the end of the day, Phoenix is just deeper. If Kawhi Leonard came back and were, contributing, his knee were fine, then I think that would maybe tip things the other way. But assuming Kawhi does not come back, then I think we're looking at a Phoenix-Milwaukee finals.
Okay. Phoenix, Milwaukee. I like that.
Fresh blood.
You said what? Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's fresh. Yes, it's two teams I haven't won before.
Exactly. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
really like.
Milwaukee's won before, but not
But
in
yeah,
recent
they
memory.
haven't.
Yeah,
We not seeing the LeBron James or the Golden State Warriors like
exactly.
every single year. So I like Nas that they changing it up. So this is what I think basketball needs. So I'm
No.
liking how this is going. So next question, your favorite moment or story as a reporter?
My favorite moment or story as a reporter. That's a tough one. Um, I would say a story I wrote when I covered the Memphis Grizzlies. It was about a group called the Bill Street Flippers, and they it's basically just a group of black kids and like teenagers that they flip on Bill Street and at different events, and they do it for tips, and then when they did it at a lot of home games at the Grizzlies arena too. And they've literally just been like flipping for a long time. Like they have a whole flipping routine. They'll flip over three people at once, four people at once. They'll do a bunch of flips in a row. All self-taught. They're not like they don't go to school to do it or anything. And the leader of that group, was named Enriquez Bonds, and he basically became famous as a kid for flipping on Bill Street. And anyway, it was just like sort of like a off the cuff, like sports related story because people know it from going to Grizzlies games. But it's just fun to be able to kind of dive into something different. Kind of like shed some light on this group and what they do, because it's like it's a pretty rare sight. Like halftime acts at NBA games tend to be like really well known acts. Like professionally trained, travel the world type things. And then you just have all these kids from Memphis who are coming out and they're doing all these flips, and you just see them all over Memphis doing stuff. So, so I just thought that was a really fun story to do. And it took me a while to actually put it together because, I was trying to chase so many people down.
Yeah.
But no, but yeah, I would say that one's probably up there for me.
All right, that's dope. All right, final question. Any advice for black aspiring journalists?
Yeah, stick with it. And get as much experience as you can. At the end of the day, this isn't a job you could do just from reading about it, or just from getting advice on it. It's a job you learn by doing, basically. So if you want to be a sports writer, you get sports writing experience. You may have to get non-sports writing experience before you can get onto a sports desk. But if you want to write, just do it. If you're in school, definitely join your newspaper, talk to your advisors and figure out how you can get internships. If you don't go to school, email a newspaper. They may still be able to get a job as a stringer or just, closing pages or doing, late night wire work. But, no matter it is, it's experience to help you get your door in. So, yeah, I would say those two things for sure. Stick with it and just do it, get the experience now. Don't wait to do it later. The more you have, the easier it'll be. You never know what doors might open up for you.
That's good. Great advice right there, man. Great advice for sure. Well, that's all we have for this show, man. So we definitely appreciate Omari Sankofa and Rob Parker who joined us earlier for taking the time out of their schedules to come, kick it with us, come talk with us, talk about the sports writing industry, what it's like being a sports writer. So we definitely appreciate it, and make sure y'all go check out the work that Amari's doing with the Pistons at the Free Press. Man, he's doing some great work, and it's great to have a Detroit native, covering the hometown team, and that's like a dream come true. So definitely appreciate the work he's doing, and with Rob, what he's doing so much, and he's definitely a big part so many lives. So yeah, we definitely appreciate the work y'all both doing, and we thank you again for coming on the show and keeping it real with us, man. So appreciate it.
Man, Kevin, one of the hottest topics in sports news right now is Sha'Carri Richardson, the rising star track runner for Team USA. Man, she just got suspended for 30-day suspension for she got caught smoking weed. She was positive test for marijuana. We, uh, man, it's in my opinion, dude. Like it's 2021. I mean, like the rest of these leagues, rest of these professional leagues, they're like kind of easing up on testing and marijuana use. I understand that the Olympic World Doping Agency, they think that it's a performance enhancer, which really don't make sense to me, because if anything, your performance would be slowed down, because like, you know, relaxed muscles, judgment, stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's odd. What you think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely an unfortunate event for her, because you know she was on the rise, she was up and coming, she was making a name for herself, everything was going well, and then obviously this news breaks for her. But I agree with you. I don't think it's a performance enhancement drug. Like you said, it relaxes the muscles, and I really applaud Sha'Carri for, you know, owning up to what she did, you know, and taking her suspension, and taking you know, like I said, taking that responsibility and owning up, because at the end of the day, it is still a banned substance, you know, by the Olympics, and even though, you know, I think it shouldn't be banned, you know, you still have to know, you know, what is banned and what's not banned, and obviously she was going through a tough time too. So, you know, that's something that played into it as well. But, you know, my take is it was just unfortunate that it happened. And hopefully the Olympics can ban, you know, the marijuana, because like me and you both agree on it. We don't think it's a performance enhancement drug. So hopefully this won't, you know, break Sha'Carri. I don't think it will. I think it's only gonna make her better, you know, after this. So she's gonna be on a mission now. So.
Yeah, for sure. The circumstances definitely sucked. It sucked for her because when she went on the Today Show, like she basically explained what happened. She made it known early off that it wasn't a positive test for steroids. So
right.
Yeah, but yeah, she owned up to it. She said she knew the rules. She knew what she was doing. But yeah, the circumstances surrounding it, like she found out about the passing of her mother from a journalist. And like in the middle of an interview, like find out some news like that from somebody that's like not family, like I can understand like how that could send her into a spiral, and yeah, coping with it with like a way that she knew how. Like I definitely understand, but yeah, it's only 30 days. Her suspension will end in time for her to compete in the 4x100 meter relay, as if she's selected to the Team USA that's going to Tokyo. But yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. All right, that's gonna be it for this episode of Keeping It Real. We can catch it on YouTube. It's also up on Spotify now and on Google Podcasts. We'll catch y'all in the next one.